got one item on the agenda about outside storage.
Oh, okay. Ready to roll? Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Very good.
Maybe we should reintroduce ourselves. It's been a few months, but anyway, welcome to Historic Preservation Commission, February 12th, 2018. I am Chairperson Alderman Mark Stoyer. We have Dave Boyce, who is here, Susan Lee, who is here, and Patty Olson and Dennis Doucette will not be able to make it for reasons. So in a sense, we do not have a quorum, but we don't have any agenda items that we really have to vote on, if you will. So we'll move forward. Approval of the minutes. Approval from September 11th, 2017 meeting and the November 1st, 2017 HPC special meeting. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Okay, just make a comment that I
Yes.
can't vote on the September because I was not present for the
Okay.
September meeting, but I was at the November meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we can't really vote on it. We'll save this for the next, okay. Communications, old business, nothing there. Under new business, actually, maybe I could bring this up. As far as our previous folks that we had on the commission, Roger Retzlaff and Janine Mead, I've been thinking about, I need to put together a letter thanking them for their service, and then, I don't know, in the past, have we, I don't know if there's been if a gift card or something to that effect from our budget. Can we do something like that, or is that, have we done that, or is it just
I would
generally?
have to check with the mayor's office. I know they usually do like a certificate of appreciation for people once they leave the commission, but I don't know if there's a
Well,
gift
just
involved.
let
but I
me
can
know
ask.
what that may be, but we need to, for our next meeting, I want to have that.
I think in the past, we didn't give a gift, it was a certificate of appreciation.
Okay.
All right, that's fine. All right, so that, I think that's it for that. And we'll discuss, I think that's all I have for that. Reports. Review the September, October, November, December 2017 and January 2018 building activity report. I don't know if you had a chance to look through any of this. I do appreciate that these are a lot smaller than the old days. Save a small forest. On some of these, for example, on page 1, 622 Grinion, they'll have some of the fees, fees paid, but some of the work is like in, $10,000, $12,000 range, that type of thing. And it seems that in the past that we usually wait until there's a larger amount of sorts to really look at. I don't know, if this is just the cost of doing business. They're talking about raising, so I'm just saying for any type of project, so that's all I have for that. It's really not an issue, at least on these are raising, so I'm not worried about those. So we'll just move on. Does anybody else have anything? I didn't really see much. We really can't vote on this anyhow. Most of the costs here that are a little higher are for raising of structures. Okay, I don't have anything. Does anybody else have anything? We'll just, if you don't, we'll just save this for our next meeting. Okay, I'll move ahead. Review city raise and repair orders and demolitions. I know that, Jason, you normally go out, will you take pictures on these, or generally, or is that, the city will go out and do that?
Anytime that I receive a copy of a raise repair order, I go out and take a picture.
Okay.
So I recognize these photos anyway.
Was there any, Any pressing issues that you saw with any of these buildings?
No. The short answer is no.
Okay.
And that's not a criticism of the buildings, it just is to say that there's lots of others like them for now.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for getting up and doing that. I don't know if anybody else has any questions on these structures. Otherwise, we'll move forward and just vote on that next month.
Have you guys liked that process of having Jason review them as I get them and then emailing them to you, so you
Right.
have,
So we do look.
just in case we're between meetings? I think that's probably the most effective way to do
Right.
it, and then we can just have a discussion here if it's not
Right.
pressing.
We'll just continue that.
Okay.
That's great, thanks, Stephanie. All right, next, number 3, informational, the Downtown Historic District, which we're all pretty excited about, so I don't know if, Jason, you wanna?
Yes, the state had requested a few revisions to our nomination package. The most exciting bit about that is that the district now includes the Initiative 1 building, the Karma Group building, the jail and safety center, and I think that's it. Only the Karma Group building, though, is contributing of those. The others are non-contributing. So, not a
But
big deal.
you're happy for that, I mean, it's not for those two, but for the other one.
Yeah, one more building, that's good, that opens that up to tax credits. I had another round of revisions just to tinker with some figures. Everything's on track, and I will be in Madison
Yes.
later this week, the 16th, to do a
Yes,
very,
sir.
very brief and not all that entertaining presentation about the district. So at that time, it will be added to the State Register of Historic Places.
So this is, I was gonna ask you, that Wendy, you're going down as well, correct?
Yeah, that we had talked about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, it's really a boring presentation, though.
No,
It's
no.
all for
You-
the betterment of the city, though. This is
Yes.
good.
Well, what do you want, bring in some humor or something?
Oh, everywhere I go.
Everywhere you go. Well, we're very excited about this, you can mention we had a presentation not too long back at the Meyer Theater. Was that last month, I believe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was pretty well received, so,
Same presentation.
yes, well, I was entertained. I thought it was good.
Awesome.
So,
This crowd in Madison, they're maybe not as amicable, but
right.
there we go.
So as far as the designation then, it is moving forward.
It is added to the State Register on the 16th at that meeting. It will then be forwarded to the Department of the Interior, who in all likelihood will take all of 45 days
Mhm.
to add it to the National Register of Historic Places. I
Okay,
don't know if that's 45 business days or calendar days, probably
right,
business days if that is.
yeah.
I don't see any obstacles now for it becoming a National Register district.
Mhm.
There are 42 buildings in that district. 5 of them are already on the National Register individually,
Right.
and 5 of them will be considered non-contributing.
Mhm.
That's the Initiative 1 building, the professional offices at the corner of South Washington and Doty, the Pierrot building, which is the building adjacent to the Associated Bank building, just north of that, also owned by Associated Bank.
Mhm.
Oh, goodness. The jail safety center stuff is non-contributing. Yes,
So that's-
that's-
you got 4.
And I always forget which other one is non-contributing there.
The numbers in the back, we need that further.
Oh, the jail safety center count as 2 buildings according to the state. So
Oh,
that's-
okay.
That's your 5th.
I remember some years ago, Mr. Mindell here, I remember we testified for that safety building. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was years ago to try to preserve that. So, I'm very pleased to hear this. I think it's gonna be a proactive initiative, if you will, for us at the city, and I think it's another tool for marketing and any other number of things. So, Wendy, if you wanna add anything to that, or?
It's been a lot of effort. Thank you very much for your, all that you've done to get us to this point.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise,
Okay.
all right. Thank you, Jason. Next, we have ordinance update, another ongoing thing.
Yes, so we've been working internally, quite a few drafts have gone between Jason and I to try to figure out how this ordinance needs to move forward. So since we've last met, we've met with the Astor Board. They received it pretty well, which was surprising considering the history that I've known that there's been with this ordinance in the Astor Board. So we've worked with them, we've gone back and forth with some email exchanges to kind of narrow down some of the ideas that they had as well for the ordinance. So the plan forward is to go to their annual whole neighborhood meeting, which is on March 19th. So we'll be presenting the ordinance there, but that will mostly be like a question and answer kind of thing. We'll give a small presentation to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then I think a lot of the questions are gonna be, well, what about my property? So Jason has all the property details for Astor listed out already, so I think it'll just be much more of an interactive, well, if you were thinking of doing this, this is what we would probably allow under this ordinance. But mostly we're just trying to run the point home that right now you're still supposed to be coming to us, even though we're advisory. This won't change that. This will just make this a binding advisory or a binding review versus the advisory review. So we're really trying to nail that point home because I don't think that people are connecting that dot.
With an appeal process.
Yes.
Yes. Well, okay, and then I think the whole fact that, you know, we've been looking at it from a CLG status too, and I think some of the citizens there, I mean, I think they're buying into that a little bit,
Mhm.
I would hope. I
That
think-
seems to be one of the better points when we bring up the CLG status and what that offers the city. People get really excited about that because they
Right.
realize it isn't just for one specific property or one specific district. It helps the entire city be able to market ourselves with our historic properties. So
Right.
that'll be really beneficial.
I do, I think, you know, I think a lot of times with preservation in the past, it seemed like, you know, the half full, half empty type of thing, like,
Mhm.
oh, what are you gonna make me do to my property and that, but, you know, we really gotta start looking at positive aspects of this. So March 19th,
March 19th is
What-
for Astor, and then the rest of the property owners for the other districts and other individually listed properties, we're gonna do around that same time. We don't have a date for that yet.
okay.
So the Astor people will do their own neighborhood association meeting, it'll be at that meeting that we'll present, and then the next one will be more of like a public meeting format, where we invite the property owners, but then anybody else who's interested to hear about the ordinance update.
Okay. Well, if there's anything, I mean, I'll ask our committee to be there,
Mhm.
and if there's
That would be
anything we
great.
can add to the fabric, we definitely
Mhm.
wanna do that.
Yeah, once we get some of the more like grassroots neighborhood support, then we'll obviously bring it to like a public forum where we ask for public opinion, maybe do a survey with it, not quite sure yet. But trying to make sure that we kind of cover our bases, because we don't want people to think that we're trying to like sneak this in by any means.
Right.
We've been working on this for a long time, so I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to give their opinion on this as well.
As far as the raise ordinance, as far as, is that gonna be incorporated, something to that effect? Do we
Yep,
do we have a
everything will
date?
be
As
in
far as-
one ordinance.
Right, but as far as the number of days, because I know we had looked at 30, 15, 10, different things.
I
Is
don't
there a
know.
number that we
Do you
have?
remember that?
I think that's separate ordinance issues.
It's separate, I know, but it kind of ties hand in hand, so I don't know if, somewhat, but.
Well, we'll
If
have
it is,
to-
if it's a separate issue, then we'll make it
Well,
as such.
it can be two separate issues, so anything that would be listed as historic property would have its own under the chapter 15 revision that we're working on.
Okay,
I know that historically there have been looking at, what was the date that?
Concern is
Sarah?
that somebody could apply for a raise permit on a non-designated but potentially historic eligible
Right.
structure.
right,
And so there was some feeling that we should have a
wait,
cooling off period, if you will. You apply for your raise permit, then you have to wait so many days to give the HPC opportunity to say, wait, we want to locally designate that, or not.
so, and that, I don't know if you're incorporating that thought process in right now, but that's something that we had talked about pretty extensively over time.
Yes, I've always treated it as a separate ordinance issue that should be addressed under the raise section of the,
Right, well, as long as it's not,
And that would be throughout the city, every building?
well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I think definitely for historic structures, but the fact is, over time, you know, one of our thoughts is that we will have more and more historic districts over time as the city gets older. And Jason brought up a good point that, you know, even though it's not on the list, there's always that possibility that something that could become historic might be knocked down tomorrow,
Okay.
that type of thing. So we're just trying to have something in place so that, that we can at least just look at it. Chances are, we may not be able to save it, but I look at some of the buildings, like the Farmers Exchange building, for example, I mean, looking at 1001 Club, you know, they had a fire there and that's just sitting vacant. The old Fisk Library, I mean, that's been for sale forever. And I worry that these structures, over time, are gonna fall into disrepair. And then, I know Milwaukee, for example, I think they penalized owners of buildings if they let them go delinquent, if you will. They just let them fall apart. So it's kind of like raising by neglect. So I think that's something we need to look at.
We do have some language in the new ordinance that details anything that would be demo by neglect. Basically, there's a lot of
That's, I
harsh
think that,
punishment
to me,
for
I
it
think
available
that, I
if you
think
wanna
that's
go that
important.
route. Because it does seem to be the biggest problem that we have in Green Bay, is that people are letting the properties fall to disrepair because
And
they
the-
know that it'll eventually just lead them to a demolition permit versus being able to take responsibility for the property and
Yeah, we need,
have money available to help.
right, and I know that's always an issue, trying to get monies available and that type of thing, but, speaking of that, does that tie in a little bit with, you know, the monies that we got from the excise tax? I don't know, that could be under other,
Revolving loan fund.
yeah.
It's made a lot of progress. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, it turns out we don't know how to run one of those, so we've been learning on our feet, but we do have an application in, so that's been good. I think that we'll use that as we're trying to change the ordinance, here's how it's gonna affect you, but also we have this brand new program available that can offer you up to $10,000 in a loan, that's at 2%. So we're gonna be presenting that to the public as we do these public meetings for the ordinance update as well. Granted, they're not tied together, but I think it'll be good to present it in a fashion that here's the new ordinance change, but here's a new program to help you pay for this stuff.
Right, and I know that you have to, you know, a lot of times folks couldn't afford that initial 10,000 to get the thing rolling, if you will. And I, remember that, the woman, the single mother that lived over on Jefferson Street? I don't remember her last name, but she came before us.
Yeah.
We'd have to dig that name out, but she would have been a perfect candidate, and I don't know if,
So at the garage over, and you were meeting over at the museum?
she came to one of our meetings. This is over a year and a half ago. I'd have to dig through the minutes, but I think it was, I wanna say 720 South Jefferson, I believe. And she just had a number of issues, and it seemed like she wanted to really protect her house, but she needed that initial money to get to a point so that she can apply. And if we could dig through that, I mean, I'll see if I could dig through it and find out her name, but she would be a perfect candidate, unless,
Was that for a garage?
I don't know if it was just for a garage. Do you remember that person, Susan?
Just, I don't remember
So
exactly.
there's a lady
what
that
she
showed
knew.
up at the museum meeting
Yeah.
one time when you were over at the museum.
So we had
Yeah,
that meeting
no, that
before.
was,
There's a different
That was a
person?
boy.
yeah, I'll make a note of that to see if I can dig that out. But that was over a year ago. And we just kept thinking, and this was before that money was available. So now that it is available. I think, something like this too, I think if the people are willing to share that, I think it's a good idea to get a little bit of press on some of this over time too, that, you know, we're proactively doing these things.
Oh, definitely.
Good news, good news.
Mhm.
That's what I want to hear. Okay, anything else on that? Otherwise,
Nope.
what? Oh.
Press.
Oh, the
If
press.
only we knew somebody in the press.
Yeah, the press. Hi, Bill.
What's that?
I said, if we knew somebody in the press,
Oh.
we're all pointing at you.
Sure thing.
All right. Okay, other than that, is there anything else anybody wants to bring up?
Is there anything happening with replacing Roger? I mean, how much
Let's
issues or
let's talk,
anything?
Stephanie will talk a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we
so-
need an architect.
We're down a couple people, so it's been a little hard to get a quorum, but there are a couple of vacancies that need to be filled. Obviously, having an architect on here, I think, is really important to the integrity of our commission. Originally, we were holding off on replacing any of the members who had left, only because we wanted to do the rollout with the new ordinance, reappointments, that way people weren't having one meeting where they were an advisory committee, and then their next meeting, they were at a different type of committee. I thought it would be confusing for new members. But I think that we're just running up against the issue of we have too many open seats. So I'm going to recommend to Celestine that we start the reappointment process sooner rather than later. I'm hoping at our next meeting.
So we have two right now?
Too.
Okay.
Ideally, that would be done.
And also,
Or
if you know, and I know we can look that up, but as far as our terms, if you will, you know, and just making sure that, and we're current that way as much
Yep.
as possible.
There are some reappointments on terms that are needed as well.
Okay, all right, as long as we keep track of that, that's fine. But yeah, we need that. As far as what else, I mean, I'm an architect, but, Janine was a bit of a historian, so, and when you look at our commission, there's normally 7, correct? We need 7. So what other area do you think we might
Real
be looking
estate,
at?
which we have,
Real estate?
council person, which we have,
Yeah.
architect, historian,
Real estate.
and
What's that?
citizen members, so.
And then the rest would be citizen members? Okay.
Yeah, and as an advisory committee, we are covered by Jason being a historian at this point.
I'm not,
He's a contract employee, so he can still
But he's not,
give this
he's,
advice.
he gave us advice, but he cannot be on the
Yeah,
board.
so we're held over right now by his knowledge, but it's not one of our current
if you want
members.
to really stretch it, I'm an architect too.
Well, you did some work on your house, right?
Well, I'm a naval architect.
Naval. Okay.
Still,
Close enough.
When
Close
the bow
enough.
and the stern get confused on your house, I'm the right person to call.
All right, anything else? Otherwise, thank you for all coming. Our next meeting date will be March 12th, 2018. That'll be about 1 week before Astor. And I think that I would really emphasize that our committee be there, and I think it's important to show support. And we'll work with you, I'll work with Jason. And just
I'll follow up via email too
Yeah,
with
please.
any meeting materials that we're gonna have, or, what time and that kind of stuff. We just haven't sorted out those details yet, so.
Well, and I feel that we're going about it the right way, even though it's taken time, but, when we tried to do this in the 80s and the 90s, we kind of rammed it ahead, and we didn't have the input from the committee, the citizens as much, so I think we're doing it correctly, so. Godspeed on that. All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
So moved.
So moved, second by Dave
Second.
Boyce, all in
I should say
favor?
second rather.
Yes, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thanks.